Coming up,
I learned from early that there was no shame in my game. I've learned that the fact of you not achieving something at a time and somebody else achieving it, it's not lack, it's their abundance for them, but also abundance for you because you needed to take a particular detour in your life for where you're going.
She's an attorney at law, a CEO, a consultant, a dynamic speaker and MC, and so much more. The vibrant Rochelle Cameron tells part one of her inspiring story. Stay tuned.
The most prominent producer then in the industry tell Tony that he could not bust a female artist because
failing is one thing. Failing publicly is a very hard thing.
I said I was holding my mouth, the lies were going, and I sat and I saw women on the TV just lying bluntly, just like that.
Released the all media survey. When you look at the name Ron Mouchette, 0, 0, 0.
You know, I had to fend for myself at an early age. In fact, my mother became mentally ill when I was 9 years old.
I sold everything and went to my wife and said, and she said to me, all right, no problem. She will back me. Just leave the house.
From entertainers, politicians, business leaders, and more, the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle on YouTube has it all.
That I'm new to that.
I did movies with Denzel Washington. Then I wrote Baps, and that's starring Halle Berry.
You wrote Babs?
Wrote Babs,
Oh no!
Subscribe now for a brand new year of inspiration and strategies to make it from the best of the best. Plus catch up on episodes you may have missed. It's the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle.
So this week on the Trailblazers, as I mentioned in the preamble, I'm so delighted to have this phenomenal woman, Rochelle Cameron, founder and CEO of Prescient. And on top of it, she is an attorney at law, like a big lawyer, transformational speaker, which many of you know her for, MC. Like, this woman is an all-rounder, and it is a pleasure to have her on the Trailblazers because she definitely has been blazing her trail. Welcome, lovely lady. You're looking fabulous as always.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. This is a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and great work that you've been doing, and you have been so consistent with this product. But it's the consistency that gets better and better. Every time you think it's good, it just gets better and better.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And coming from the likes of you, it actually is an encouragement. So I appreciate that. All right. So let me jump right into your journey and your story, because as we mentioned, you are a phenomenal woman doing all of these fabulous things. We see you moving and shaking. And I mean, tell us about your journey, your early years, how you started out, where you grew up. The whole works.
So I grew up in Kingston, so between Kingston and Lucky Hill, St. Mary. So my mother's parents and my mother grew up in the Verdant district of Lucky Hill in Western St. Mary. And then I didn't realize what a privilege it was to be able to spend holidays in the country. So I always had a country to go to. So my country was Lucky Hill. So you had town life, and then you spent Easter, summer, Christmas down in Lucky Hill. So I've found that in growing up, I had these two lives, because, you know, country life, you have to take it down a notch into the country life. And so it just gives you this kind of broad scale exposure to all of what Jamaica is about. I went to Mono Prep and I went to Campion College. And so I always laugh and say when my friends were going to Florida, so they'd say they're going to Miami for the summer. I was going to Lucky Hill. But I learned from early that there was no shame in my game. I was very proud of where I'm going. So all of my friends knew that I was going country. I had vacation, Bible school, summer camp. I'm bathing in cold water. My grandmother had a shop, and she's like the town lawyer, you know, them people that where everybody gather at her shop. So those early influences, I think, have set a stage for me. I thoroughly enjoyed high school. I always said that I was a beauty in the making. Yeah. So in high school, what I was known for is I was always a comedian. Like, I was always giving jokes.
Really? actually see that. I can see
So it was always funny because I was always giving jokes, but I was always very driven. So I always like to be in the top of the class, in student leadership. I was never very good at sports, but I was involved in everything. So anything that I couldn't pretend to participate in, I would become management of it. So I did enjoy my high school journey. And I never struggled a lot with things like my hair did very dry. But we did things.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
And I see some bangs that my mother did give me. Remember, so awfully cute. But I grew up in a household and with a mother that from early I was princess. I was beautiful, I'm bright, I'm smart. So I wasn't seeking external validation for it. And I think that's so important for parenting. I think the true legacy that my mother has given me is this foundation just of confidence, because she has convinced me that I can change the world. I can do anything I put my mind to. So I think that helped to push me along a lot. One of my early disappointments was after I did A-levels. So you look like you did the CAPE. You do CAPE or you do A-levels?
I did CAPE.
I did A-levels. Okay. And so for A-levels, so I was a cross between a science and an art student. Something I actually, one of the things I will be advocating on this next journey of my life is just how we educate children. And in our teenage years, our school system is so geared that you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian, or chief. I mean, you're 15. What do you know? You don't know. So I don't think we allow children just learn, because it's so much about passing things. So you are not learning for the sake of learning. And life is a learning journey. So I did the sciences and I did history and literature for CXC. And then for A-levels, I did math, zoology, and literature.
That's an interesting mix for you.
So when I look back, my life has always been just a mix of things. That I've had great opportunities to do the things that I love. So I love math and I love literature, and I did zoology because I was pretty good at it. And it would, if I needed to do medicine, I could have enough that I could switch to medicine. But I knew I wanted to do law. Applied to law, and in those days for the Jamaican students, it was like 45 students across the island that got straight into law. Whoa. So competitive.
That was
no law faculty. So we're talking, this is 1990, how long?
Oh, wow.
Our faculty used to beg a classroom in Jamaica from the Faculty of Education. But we did second and third year in Barbados. So the first year I did not get in. I was devastated. I was like, how do I not get into law directly? And I learned early about comparison, that, sometimes you look at other people, you're like, how did they get in and I didn't get in? Yes. Because their journey required them to get in at that point. It has nothing to do with me. And I've learned that the fact of you not achieving something at a time and somebody else achieving it, it's not lack, it's their abundance for them, but also abundance for you, because you needed to take a particular detour in your life for where you're going.
And so you're already spitting facts and just started, but I mean, that's such a powerful point though, Rochelle, the fact that so often we look at the fact that, and we compare, because we're like, but I'm just as qualified, probably even more than that person. But as you rightly mentioned, it may not be for your journey at that time, because timing is crucial.
Exactly.
Continue.
Yeah. So you can be glad for people. And so I did 1 year of social sciences. I don't remember what I was doing in social, but I remember that I did statistics and I did economics. I did economics for the first time, micro and macroeconomics and politics. And I was like, my gosh, some of these things I can never know, because they weren't in my learning space. And I thoroughly enjoyed that year of SOSI. So what was the devastation was like an amazing year. A lot of my very core friends to this day, I became closer with them in that year of social sciences. One of my very good friend, Garfield, who's AKA Burrow, one of the brightest human beings I've ever come across, the coolest guy. And we would line outside the library and chat for hours. But UA, and I hope UA students are experiencing that now, that lime under a tree, that lime outside the library where you're talking politics, you learn how to build joke and build story and argue, and that whole experiential part of UA, we had that.
Yeah.
So when it came, I did the transfer form for law and I almost didn't give it in. And I remember my mother said, have you given in the form? So I told her that I wanted to do the degree in society. Mommy's like, I don't know how long I have here, and I get a degree in law for you. After that, you're gonna do all of the other things and where you want to send in the form. I didn't even know that I'd gone through the transfer, but wherever I go, I make friends with administration. I love people in administration, security guards, administration, anybody that lets you through the door. Those are real management.
The best people to know.
The best people, and be extremely respectful because they keep those wheels, those cogs of those wheels oiled and moving.
True.
And one of my friends in admin said, how come you haven't come pick up your package yet? Send me some package for what? She's like, your law package has been there waiting. I was like, oh my gosh, I got in. She's like, everybody else came to check and pick it up. So I said, all right, put it down for me. And she found me the next day in my usual alignment space. And she's like, please take this package because I think your mother needs you to finish this thing.
Exactly.
To start it. So there was 1 year in SOSI and then I transferred to law. So I had these whole two sets of friends, my SOSI friends and my law friends. And did I miss not finishing that SOSI degree? Not at all. I was meant to do law. I love it. It is still my first love and passion, and it has been the foundation and pivot for everything else. And I still went back and did an MBA in international business. So I got best of both worlds.
Wow.
And the short story of that really is there's no defined limits of what you can do. You can do anything that you decide and choose to expand yourself and do. Any degree that you do is a foundation for learning and knowledge. You read for a degree. We sometimes we swat for a degree, but we really are, the whole learning process is learning. The discipline of starting and finishing a course, even if that's not something you love, but there is discipline in starting and finishing. There's also discipline in saying I can expand my sphere of learning, because I ended up doing an MBA because I moved to work at Cable and Wireless, and they was talking some things about balance sheet and stuff. And I said, but Una brighter than me. But Una actually know a little more than me because Una know some of these things. So I could sit here and think, wow, I could know those things, or I could go and learn those things myself. Yeah. So
stick up in though, Rochelle, because I identify with your story in so many ways, because I remember, so I didn't do law, right? But for me, I had applied to CARIMAC, and I remember at the time, like, I didn't get to do CARIMAC. And so I spent the first year doing something that I really wasn't like a big fan of, which is the media school then, but I ended up doing something totally different. Mm-hmm. And then I eventually transferred into CARIMAC. But by then, when I transferred into CARIMAC, I'd already started like doing media, like, got a little bus already as a student. So it's just interesting when you are in alignment with your purpose and your passion, and roadblocks may come along the way, but it's also that determination, because you could have said, boy, me never get in, why me even bother to try transfer? So why, how did you know within yourself, even at that early age, that this was one of the things that you were supposed to be doing?
So, it's funny. So my generation, we were told we were going to be lawyer, doctor, Indian, or chief. Mm-hmm. I did the sciences and thought I could be a doctor, really. I like the concept of being a doctor. And but I didn't like bodily fluids and anything mucky. I can't handle that. I can't. So I knew from early that the doctoring was not going to be my thing. And some of my early influences, because my passion for the law was not for commercial law, which this is what I do now. It was, I wanted to be in the courtroom. I just wanted to be in front of a jury. I wanted to be a prosecutor. And then I was going to be the Chief Justice of Jamaica. And everything was just so ordered in my head.
Just like in the movies.
Just like in the movies.
Yes.
Just like in the movies. And I did start out as a prosecutor. So it was just all aligned. And in fact, my first job, I used to intern with Bert Samuels. Big up Bert Samuels.
Oh, cool.
Who taught me a lot about court practice just in real life and in real terms and the application of the law. And then I got a job as clerk of courts in Trelawney. So I moved down to work as clerk of courts in my first working office, clerk of courts in Trelawney. And I remember that a police officer came to me after my first day, and two of them came, and so they're working the court, and they were like, "We like you. We never mean for like you, but we like you. But you have to take telling. So we're gonna check if you can take telling." Now, remember, I've just graduated with my with my certificate of legal education, because you do your law degree and then you do 2 years at Norman Manley. I was valedictorian of my Norman Manley. Yeah, girl. So I know the law. I'm out in the streets now practicing the law. I learned from early, say, after you do the book part, you have to go to the school now, the real life school. And those police officers taught me so many things, even in how to lead the evidence, because they're in court all the time, you know. So they are teachers. The court staff down at Duncan's taught me how to write up summons properly. So you learn the theory behind the things, and these are the people who are actually doing the things.
Oh, and do you remember any other cops' names? Because my dad is a cop.
He was on in Trelawney.
Yes, I'm wondering if he was one of them, but continue your story.
So after I was called, because you get called to the DPP's office, and at the DPP's office, there is oh my God, what is it called again? I don't remember, but there was a section of the office that nobody wanted to do, where it felt like punishment to the new people, that you had to work in managing the court files. So along with your cases, you also set up the court files for the week, ensured all the witnesses were called and so on. And I was thinking, oh my God, please don't let me be one of them that get called in. Of course, I was called into that. And there I learned about the full process for a lot of the Supreme Court matters. So, again, sometimes there are things that you get called to do that weren't on any list of things that you picked. And you're just like, why not punish me with this? But you need to do those things because there's some leadership you need to learn. There's some management. There's some skills you need to learn. And in that place, I learned the court system. That's when I learned the Supreme Court system well. That's when I got a lot of contacts, had to work with the witnesses, pulling the witnesses together. So it just completely broadened. So for the young people and for middle-aged, for old people, for anybody at any stage of your life, there is nothing that's too little for you to learn. And a lot of the places sometimes that we end up being placed, that we see, why am I placed here? I mean, and it's detouring me again from my journey. That detour is one of the very things that is unlocking the gate for where you need to go.
Whoa.
So
repeat that.
That detour is taking you to that place to unlock the door for where you actually need to go. That is
so powerful.
Yeah. So everything is opportunity.
Yes.
And then a friend of mine, so you know about extremes. And he said, I'll never do that. I'm not interested in that. So when I was in the faculty, I didn't do a lot of the business courses because you remember I was going to be a prosecutor, I was going to be Chief Justice of Jamaica, so I was focused on those areas. And I did do commercial law and stuff, but because I'm going to be a prosecutor. And my friend called me from Cable and Wireless and she said, Rush, there is a job opening here. Send me your resume. I said, where in any discussion have I said to you that I'm going to work on a company? I'm like, that's not even real law. That's not real law. I'm like a real lawyer. I'm a real lawyer person. So she said, no, man, send anything. So she hounded me. Her name is Alvita Adeline Knight. She's a Bahamian. That we actually went to school in Barbados together, and she's one of my friends that I just can never ditch, always looking out for you. Again, along the journey, you meet people, which I tell her all the time that when I met her, I never like her, none at all. And she's one of my best friends and one of just my key cheerleaders. It's an amazing human being. So again, you meet people along the journey. You make certain judgments on them based on your unconscious biases for no good reason. And sometimes those are the people that are literally, that God has us picked and placed in your life for opening other doors for you. Because had we not been friends, for her to reach out to me, she's like, and she was just adamant that I needed to make this move. And she came with me to sit down, type up the CV. Because I'm not in a CV, what we need CV, I'm not going anywhere.
Yes.
So type up a CV, she handed it in. Short story, got the job. And this is in Cable and Wireless. This is just at the time of full liberalization of the market. I'd never done commercial work. I'd never worked with contracts in any serious way. I'd done litigation from a criminal side, not from a civil side, meaning lawsuits and so on. And this was where I was just thrown into this. It was all hell breaking loose because full liberalization, competition intense, the business going through its own issues and redefining itself. And again, I was just like, wow, God, thanks for this. This is cool. This is very cool. So you couldn't make me come here in the good days. You have to make me come here when the
challenging period, when there's so much things changing. But you know, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because it's interesting just looking, for example, you sharing the trajectory of your life and your journey, your career, and at the same time, there would have been, for example, those moments where you had uncertainty and you faced challenges. So what kept you each and every stage to be optimistic for the next level, and then eventually even reaching now to the point where you have your own business running or business running?
That's an interesting question. I said to my friend was telling me the other day how much she admired my faith. So I started laughing and she's like, what's so funny? And I said, you know, my faith is a funny. I have a lot of conversations with God and ask him, like, why you have to find challenging things for me? Like, if you put me in a thing, me know that something is challenging at the time. We say everything have to be a learning. Some of the things can just be nice and glorious. Yeah. I find too that, like, I will set things up. I'm very goal oriented and I have a plan. And, you know, the Lord will just change the plan up for me, but he don't change it a little bit. He just completely change the plan for me. And I always say, like Gideon in the Bible, I ask the question, I'm like, okay, show me another sign. All right, me get that sign there. Me see that sign there. All right, give me one last sign so me know. But you know what my sign is? That when I'm on the right path, not even my doubt and fear can stop it. It aligns. When you're walking in purpose, it aligns itself. Sometimes you can't even fight your way out of it. Because everything, the doors of where you thought you were going to go close, and you only have this space. So you can stand up out there and quarrel from now till never, or you just have to step in. And step in with faith, knowing that if you're walking in purpose, everything will align itself.
That's an interesting take, though, because you, as you mentioned, you talk about faith and the doors opening, but what if you have doubts? What about, you know, those moments when you really have doubts and you're like, this is completely out of what? Why would you have faith when things are completely going topsy-turvy?
Because faith is actually stepping into a space that you don't even know where you're going. So I do, and what happens over time is that you do realize that everything does really work itself out. And I wouldn't say I'm a doubtful person, but I am a questioning person, and I do love clarity. So I don't just jump into nothing. I need clarity. And what I do find is that the very things that I end up doing that I'm even doubtful about, those are some of the things that I did have in the back of my consciousness that have manifested themselves. So when I doubt, I pray. I'm not afraid to also seek the counsel of my mentors, of my tribe, and I have an extensive tribe. I'm like tribal council, but also that I'm okay with taking a chance on myself. I'm okay. I think I'm pretty awesome. I find I'm pretty blessed, and I'm like, if I know this, it will fix itself. So even in doubt, and I'll give you this quick story, which is when I was going into business, my very good friend of blessed memory, I speak of him a lot. His name is Mark Harrison. He's a lawyer, he's a businessman, one of the most fearless human beings I've ever come across. And when I described him, because he's always been pushing me to go into consultancy and spread my wings. And when I was explaining it to him, and he's like, you're just going round and round, Rush. And he's like, girl, you got to do this. You just have to hold your titties and jump.
Whoa. I love that. I love that. And I mean, in the line of your career, the path of your career, your journey today, because I remember a few years ago, I was hearing a bit of your story at an event, and you were sharing even in terms of your personal journey and the challenges that you faced along that path as well. I'm not sure what level you're comfortable to share here, but tell us about that, because at the end of the day, you're navigating a career, you're navigating life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these are not small positions, these are big positions, putting yourself out there. So how have you been able to do all of that along the journey?
When I laugh, I realize I close my eyes when I laugh, like I squint my eyes, because every time I look at myself laughing, I do that. My brain will just go off like that. So, let me put it this way. If you think about it, when we think, our natural inclination towards people is focused on what people do. What do you do? What's your doing action? What do you do? So if you are a lawyer and pretty established in what you're doing and experienced, that's what you do. You're a lawyer. So people identify with you that way, and you start identifying with the thing that you do, that whatever that profession is. And we've been schooled that way. Our brains are tuned that way. Now, when you also realize that you have other passions and you have other areas of expertise and other things. So human resources is one of my big things, people development, leadership development, and how setting the right people in the right spaces, keeping people motivated, these intrinsic things, these things that they call soft skills, which are hard, very hard, because it requires hard skills and requires a lot of emotion and emotional intelligence. And these things are not learned in school. They're learned in real life. When you have these other things and they're there in your head, and you know that your capacity and capability is bigger than even something that is supposed to be considered big, like you're supposed to satisfy, you're a liar. You want more things? Enough. So I found myself just shifting into human resources, and I did get a lot of good opportunities at Cable and Wireless to just expand my learning into spaces. And the truth is that if I decide I'm going to learn something, I'm hitching myself up on the people that are not going to teach me. If I learn the accounts, I come with, and you go up on the whiteboard and you teach me. Whatever level you are, I can learn from you. So leadership now became a broader thing than law. And I had acted several times as CEO of Cable and Wireless when the managing director had gone on leave or was off island. And you you're still not taking it seriously. That could be something that you could even be considered for. So when Gary Sinclair was moving on up in the organization and the role of CEO came up, and I was also asked to participate, like not just help people do them CV and help them and coach them through the interviews, which is what I love to do. But to be a part of that process, you know, you go through doubts too, like, am I capable of this? Imposter syndrome comes in. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put myself forward, and then I'm gonna put myself forward and put myself forward, and then it not happen, and wow, that mean. And you go through all of those things. But again, you asked me about doubt earlier. You still send me in the form and you say, make me see what happened.
Yes.
You do the first interview, and you don't go in there like with the doubt on your head and say, me, you can't. No, you have to leave this doubt outside. You say, you stay out here. Because me need to go in another place there, and I give them 150%. I have to wow them. So you stay out here. When we come back out, we team back up. So you go in there, and then you get to the first interview, and you hear that you're in the final 2 candidates, and you say, wow, this is serious.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I didn't get that role, but that entire experience again opened up so many doors for me. But the biggest door it opened up was my own mind space and mindset in what I'm capable of. And yes, you still wonder, like, can I? Like when clients call you about things or people ask you to do things, and you're just like, why would you pick me for that? No, when Mr. Doubt jump in and say, whatever, you know not about that. No. Me hear the other voice that say, hey girl, hey girl, make we do it. Anything we don't know, we're going to learn. We're going to gather the best people around us. So I gather the best people around me. And this has then meant that I would have dealt with what was a disappointment not getting that role, but an appointment of me recognizing what I am capable of. But better yet, I can show other people what they're capable of. And I can give them an example and show, yeah, man, you can do this. We could do this together. I also got the experience of interviewing at that highest level, and everything for me is an opportunity. So I was able to also coach people through those kinds of interviews and how to set up their CVs and profiles and how to present themselves. So I needed to go through that experience so that I could gather all of this experience that I can share.
Join us next week for part 2 of Rochelle Cameron's inspiring story.
Hi everyone, I'm Tamara McKayle, television and radio presenter, producer, communication specialist, and of course producer and host of the Trailblazers series, and I'm inviting you to be a part of the Trailblazers family as we continue to grow. So all you have to do is just click that subscribe button. Make sure you click that notification bell so you are alerted as to when we have new episodes, and join our family for weekly inspirational episodes that will not only lift your spirits but give you the tools, the keys, and the strategies that you need so that you can walk in your purpose, blaze your trail, and be all that you have been created to be.